Hey everyone, it's Wade here. Thank you for all your support, and this week's shout-outs go to Daniel J. Leeborn, Sarah Talk Podcast, Frank Eleknowitz, Cheese Dick McDouche Nozzle Esquire, Kemiel Winnitz, and Craig Porter. Thank you so much for your support, guys. We really appreciate all your help, and to all the other Patreons out there. You too can become a Patreon just by going to patreon.com/Sci-gasm podcast, or if you're listening on Podbean, you can just click Become a Patreon. Enjoy the episode. This one's about quantum biology.
Physics,
Biology.
physics,
Biology.
physics.
Biology.
How do you decide between physics and biological science?
¿Por qué no los dos?
How hard this was to research and try and sound genuinely like I was doing work. I don't know Hey, you buddy.
Hey, what's going on, Wade?
Oh, not much, man, not much. We thought we'd do an episode today on quantum biology.
We spend a lot of time arguing about what's better, physics or biology, so we thought we'd lay down our swords and come together for the general cause of science.
Yeah.
Where physics and biology come together.
That's it, where they collide.
I like come together better because I'm a biologist. You probably like collide because you're a physicist.
So what we're looking at today is we're looking at quantum mechanics. So how does quantum mechanics play a role in biology and vice versa? So really, in everyday life, we forget about quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics is one of those things that you think about a bunch of nerdy people doing in a lab. Yeah, or some latest laser or whatever. That's how you view it.
Some weird energy thing that you don't understand.
Exactly, some weird thing with a whole bunch of equations. Now, however, we have to remember, though, that quantum mechanics, because it's a property of matter, really, like it underpins everything, it underpins everything in the universe, which means that it also underpins life.
Now, we're not going to do an episode on quantum mechanics because you don't want to bore you guys for half an hour. No, not yet. We might have an expert coming on in a few weeks or something, so we'll save it for him. But we thought we'd talk about how...
Okay, you've already announced this guy coming on, and you're like, oh, yeah, we've got a good guest coming on, might be in a few weeks, and it's like, has he confirmed?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. All right, cool, sweet. Yeah. Stay tuned.
It's on the Google Calendar, so it's locked in.
Excellent. Oh, there you go. Quantum mechanics. We use Google Calendars.
So we're talking today about more how quantum mechanics interacts with the living world, the more interesting science.
Yeah.
So they seem to get together in this field called quantum biology. How badass does that sound?
It does. It's like, imagine like being at a bar trying to pick up someone, guy, girl, doesn't matter. You're like, hey, what are you? I'm a quantum biologist.
You do. You can really play the field of scientific punani, can't you? Being a quantum biologist.
Scientific punani. So not only am I smart and love quantum mechanics, I also love animals.
Yeah. Works both ways, yeah. That's right. I'm a geologist. Get out of the pub.
Yeah, oh, God. You're going to make those geology rock jokes again. Get the fuck out. Yeah. So,
all right.
So you're going to look at photosynthesis.
I am photosynthesis.
The bird navigation. Yeah. So you go first, Bert.
I'll go first.
Well, we'll always save the best to last.
Yeah, okay. Photosynthesis does precede all the
other
biological
I really
processes.
hope you made this interesting because as amazing as the process is, I haven't heard anyone deliver it in an exciting way.
I'll try my best.
Still yet.
It is. There's kids in year 8 that go, I already understand fucking photosynthesis. I already know it's boring. Do I really have to sit through this right now?
You learn that in primary school. Just like, they turn sunlight into food. Yeah,
it's ironic though, because while we learn about photosynthesis from such an early age, we actually know fuck all about it.
No, it's such a delicate, weird, so I guess intrinsic kind of process, it's
so normalized, it's so important to all life that we kind of take it for granted, but we really don't know anything about it when we go down to the nitty-gritty details of it, and it all comes down to quantum mechanics.
I remember because in first year university you have to do like courses and you have to do like first year biology or something like that. I made the mistake of studying that. And they like photosynthesis has like fucking 17 steps or some shit like that. I was like, the fuck is this?
This is not the chemical equation I was shown in high school.
It's not. What happened to the little arrow there with, the CO2, water, It's just like, and then you put photosynthesis and all the magic happens, but then you go into that little, what's above that arrow? It's just like, oh, God.
Yeah, I know. The arrow is really a shortcut, isn't it? You know what? I can't be bobothered explaining what happens in here, so I'm just going to put an arrow. This is what you end up with, all right? Yeah.
How are babies made? Arrow.
Yeah. That's right. Well, look, what photosynthesis, basically, what is it?
Photosynthesis is where plants take water and sunlight and CO2 as well, and then they turn it into, say, glucose. So sugars, different types of sugars. So not just glucose, but fructose and a range of different sugars. And yeah, it's kind of cool because they take less complicated chemicals and make more complicated chemicals, which is the complete opposite of what us as heterotrophs do, where we take in more complex chemicals, break them down to more simple ones.
Yeah, we do. But plants also take complicated ones and break them down. They're just able to make their own complicated ones rather than steal it from other ones, which is what heterotrophs do. We're thieves. Whereas, plants and algae and some bacteria, they're the builders. They make it all.
Yeah, cool.
So essentially all they're doing is taking energy and sticking it into a molecule. That's pretty much what photosynthesis does. And then we can steal the energy out of that molecule later.
Yeah.
Okay, but that energy, like you said, is light energy. So what's a packet of energy called?
A photon.
A photon, okay. I was going to go with quantum. Am I wrong there? What's quantum then? What's a quanta?
Oh, no. So sorry. So like a packet of energy. So I thought you meant with sun in regards to sunlight. So
yeah, I'm probably wrong here. I'm trying to dabble in physics now.
No, that's cool. So yeah, a packet of energy is known as a quanta.
Yes.
It's quantum. I thought you meant that the packet of like energy from light energy or something like that. A particle of light is known as a photon.
Okay. Well,
so no, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
Okay, I was about to go, I've already fucked this up. Yeah. But no, what we're looking at here is how photosynthesis takes those quanta, the quantum mechanics, and is actually able to turn it into all of life. All of life on Earth, or, a huge amount of it is dependent on photosynthesis. Mm-hmm. Now, we've tried to replicate it because it is, like most Year 8 students or anyone around that age be like, yeah, I get photosynthesis. But that's a lie.
Just for our US listeners, Year 8 in Australia is junior school. So it's junior high school.
Junior high, I think so. Yeah.
Junior high, yeah.
So what would they be?
Hi.
About 12, 13-year-olds, some shit like that? I don't know.
Yeah, around that. Yeah, 12 to 14-year-olds.
Okay, somewhere in that. So, like, everyone
in your
gets
case, a 16-year-old. Very slow 16-year-old.
Yeah, that's right. High school, best 12 years of my life. Now, the thing is, plants can do this really, really efficiently. Now, if we try to replicate that kind of efficiency that plants do in a lab, we have to use ridiculously low temperatures. We're talking temperatures about 77 Kelvin. Okay,
that's
which is
low.
That's really low. So what's that? That's about minus 200, I think. 200 something.
Yeah, it's around minus 200 because Kelvin, 273 degrees Kelvin is 0 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, okay. So it's about minus 200 in a lab. Now, obviously, plants don't live at minus 200. No one on Earth is minus 200. So they're able to do this process without having to use fancy pants physics tricks like super low temperatures. But how? How the fuck do they do that? And
I don't know, Bern. That's what I explained to everyone.
Oh, I'm trying, right? Now, researchers from the University College at London reckon they've been able to work it out. Now, I think this is really cool. It's something to do with the specific chemicals in plants and how they vibrate. So,
okay.
Now, how these chemicals vibrate means that they can take on energy, and if they're vibrating at the right frequency, they can take on the right energy.
They'll influence your chakra?
Yeah, they'll align your chakras? They'll align your chakra at the right energy.
Go on, sorry. I'm going to stop it.
I do have some Deepak Chopra lines later for this episode of Quantum.
Good. Sorry, listeners, I'm about 4 beers deep.
Yeah, I'm only 3.5. It's going to get interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Now, because of how these chemicals are vibrating, that determines how efficiently they take it up. But researchers have never really been able to hit the nail on the head and replicate that efficiency. And these researchers from the University College of London reckon it's because of quantum mechanics. So, basically, they're saying the energy goes into the plants, and instead of the most efficient pathway being taken by the plants, every single potential pathway that the quanta could travel down is taken. So, naturally, the most efficient one is taken. It happens in a fraction of a second. Like, we're talking thousandth of a second, so there's not enough time for it to get converted into heat and lost, which makes it so efficient.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
It is. So, multiple pathways. That trips me out. So, it's like a quantum computer already in a plant leaf.
Yeah, so what... I think the actual person that came across that was Richard Feynman, and he started like equating all this stuff about how like electrons can take multiple pathways, and it's just incredible. You have to, when calculating certain quantum phenomena, you have to account for it taking every option. Yeah. Anyway. So, go on.
So these specific chemicals, they sync up, going down these multiple pathways, and when they all sync up, the way I was reading this, and it sort of helped me envisage this, is like, imagine being at a concert, and when there's a really good bass line and everyone's jumping in time, and it feels like it's easier to dance. It's probably not, but it feels like it is, because everyone's jumping at the same time, it's easier to keep rhythm. It's kind of like that in the photosystems of the plants. Because all these chemicals are in sync, it's actually more efficient for them to take on the energy.
Oh, okay.
So they're all in sync with the same levels of energy. They're using the same chemicals with the same vibrational properties, which is, a quantum phenomenon. They're not literally standing there shaking themselves. And when this all syncs up, it makes it like an incredibly efficient use of energy in order to build things like glucose and all those other things. Now, at the moment, in classical physics, there is not a real explanation for how this occurs. The only way that photosynthesis actually makes sense at the level of efficiency that we see is through quantum mechanics. Now we have to build this understanding of quantum mechanics when we're talking about it.
Oh, okay. That's cool. That's
It is
awesome.
pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Now, we're trying to steal this idea so we can build the next generation of solar cells. Now, this is where I start to get a bit shitty with the whole physics thing. It gets a bit theoretical here. Like, we know why photosynthesis is so efficient, we know why it's so fast, and we know why so little energy is lost as heat. But we don't really know how. Like, we know there's some sort of quantum thing going on, but we can't replicate it. How plants do it, or bacteria, or algae are able to do it. We just know that they do it.
What do you mean, do what? Like,
where they're able to go through these
energy
quantum
from
pathways.
sunlight?
Yeah, to absorb this energy. So it's pretty easy. You look at a leaf and you go, okay, it grows, it absorbs energy, but we can't replicate that. Our photosystems in like solar cells or photovoltaic cells, they don't do that. We kind of see that it happens in plants, but we don't know how it happens.
Yeah, well, in regards to, with the way, I was going to go into this in my one, but the way that a solar panel works, okay, is sunlight comes in. Now, solar panels, look, they're becoming more and more efficient. They're more and more efficient each year. I think a bunch of research from University of New South Wales and from around the world has come out and said that they're making better and better materials, okay? It's kind of like superconductors. The better you make material, the easier it is for them to work. So how a photocell works, or let's say a solar cell, is the sunlight comes in. Now, sunlight has to be of a certain frequency, okay? It's usually the visible spectrum going into ultraviolet spectrum, but then you have another thing called the ultraviolet catastrophe, which I won't bore you with, okay?
Yep. Thanks.
No worries. And so what happened was, and Planck found that, by the way. So as light comes in, light has energy, okay? It comes in and it strikes this material. This material, then the electrons are excited, and then it ejects an electron, okay? Provided that light wave, that photon, that packet of light energy that strikes the atom, okay, has enough energy, has the right energy to actually release it.
Yeah.
Okay? It will not jump up if it's not. So you can't go, let's hit it with, say, really soft red light. The more red light we hit it with,
That's why they're not as efficient on like cloudy days and things like that. Or is it just not as much energy?
There's not as much photons interacting, but that may very well be. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm assuming that there's less photon interaction.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's not one of those things, and this is where people find a little bit confusing, is because when you look at, say, red light, okay, red light's less effective as producing in a solar panel, all right? But no matter how much red light, the intensity of the red light you hit it with, it still won't release anything.
The brightest red lights won't do anything.
Yeah. It has that photon, that single particle, has to be able to actually hit of a certain frequency, the solar panel, and then it will release the electron. So you could pump it full of all this red light, right, a solar panel, and it still won't eject anything. You can hit it with one little photon of, say, blue light or indigo or violet light, and it will eject an electron.
It'll trigger it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is and that actually that type of understanding actually led to the idea of quantum mechanics. So a wave or light being a wave and the particle. So, yeah, it's rather interesting because the only way they could explain this thing called a black body radiation curve was with packets of energy coming in.
It's a similar sort of process to photosynthesis and how we make photovoltaic cells. It excites an electron, it triggers off a chain of reactions, and so on and so forth. The thing that plants do that we're not able to do in our photovoltaic cells is the efficiency. Like there is one pathway that happens in solar cells, whereas plants take every pathway at the same time.
Yeah, which is incredible.
That blows my mind.
That's fucking Well, technically speaking, even calculating, say, an electron passing through the double slit experiment, with doing the equations, you have to account the only way that you're going to get that pattern and the results that you get is if the electron does take every path. So that is just a property of quantum mechanics. Not so much the plant does everything at once. It's more that's just a property of quantum mechanics.
Yeah. But it doesn't work in solar cells.
I don't know enough about solar cells to say it does or it doesn't happen.
Just based on what I was reading, that's the problem with solar cells right now. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to steal the plant technology to make more efficient solar cells, but they haven't been able to do it yet because they're not entirely sure how the fuck a plant is managing to compute quantum mechanics.
Oh, there you go.
Cheeky little buggers, those plants.
Cheeky little buggers, those plants, yeah.
For an organism without a brain, they're pretty clever.
That's it. That's it.
This also explains why Schrödinger did actually progress from a physicist to a biologist as well.
What?
Well, how did Schrödinger start out? Talking about quantum, where did he end up? Describing life.
Oh, What is Life? He wrote the book What is Life?
Yeah, at the end of his career, right?
Yeah,
so natural progression from physicist to a biologist. That's what I'm saying.
He's using physics. He's saying that physics underpins everything.
Yeah, I know. So the more he learned about everything, he goes, oh, you know what? Biology is where it's at. Now I'm older and wiser. I'm going to be a biologist. Makes sense.
No, he's not. He's saying I'm going to let these biologists know that physics underpins everything. So shut the fuck up and listen to me.
Oh, yeah, I don't think so.
All right. So, that's interesting that plants actually go to use a process, and they're so efficient because let's put it.
The efficiency thing blows my mind.
Not just plants, but even I guess any photosynthesizing organism.
Yep, bacteria, algae.
Well, they've been doing it for billions of years, haven't they? Really?
Yeah, I think about when did it start? I think photosynthesis started about 2.5 billion years ago. I want to say
that was cyanobacteria, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that were the
that would have been the first ones, the cyanobacteria.
And they were about
something like cyanobacteria.
Billion, weren't they? Like 3.5.
Maybe it is 2.5 to 3 billion years. Well, life started about 3.5 to 4 billion years ago. They're the very first life forms.
Be then? Wasn't cyanobacteria?
No, cyanobacteria came after the initial life forms. Okay. The initial life forms were all heterotrophs, so they used to eat each other. And then this one group came up and said, "Fuck this, we'll just use light instead. We don't have to eat each other anymore." The first hippies, I suppose you could think of them.
That's awesome.
There's no need to eat prokaryotes, man.
So that's really cool. That's really cool. I find that really interesting that this Mother Nature always does things better than we do. And for instance, I'm looking at the European robin today. And
is there a European Batman?
So you could just that's just in music. That's just the 12 bars of just and you could just continue playing it all day. Anyway, that's not another time. So the European robin uses a quantum phenomenon. Now, we already know that birds are able to migrate long distances. Okay, impressively. We think we're that good. Oh, check out the iPhone. It has the latest. Check out this. I can move this way and it can point north. And well, that was the iPhone 1 that did that. But it's interesting because birds, and I'm specifically speaking of the European robin, actually use quantum mechanics to actually navigate and to what scientists believe is actually visualize the Earth's magnetic field, thus giving them direction.
Really?
Yeah. So I'll take you through just electron pairing first, okay? And this will become relevant when I explain what's happening. So the light comes in through the bird's eye, okay? And it causes the photoelectric effect, okay? Which we were just speaking about before. It's where a photon comes in, electron's ejected because it's interaction with light particle.
Gets a bit excited.
Yeah, and this is known by, this is done by a chemical known as cryptochrome. Okay, cryptochrome interacts with the electromagnetic spectrum.
Okay.
Now, what's Interesting.
Sounds like a good superhero name, doesn't it? Cryptochrome.
Cryptochrome. It does, but it sounds like kryptonite, like you're just ripping off Superman.
Oh, yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah.
Spelled with a C, not a K, though.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Maybe a good villain name. Anyway, go on.
No, that's all right. So then all of a sudden a reaction happens where electrons ejected. Now, I'm just going to go back because when I explain this to you, it'll make more sense why the electrons are ejected and what happens to both of them. So any kind of kid that studied science, basic level of science, chemistry, or I should say chemistry, would know of a covalent bond. Okay, it's where two electrons pair up together to form a bond, which kind of is a little bit counterintuitive because you're taught, well, hang on, positive, negative. Why would two negative things want to make a bond with each other?
Yeah, it's a sharing of electrons between two atoms, the covalent bond. So you need to have an electron to share with. You know?
Yeah. And so what's actually happening is you actually have different spins in that covalent bond. You have a spin up and a spin down. Now, what one electron does, the partner in the pair will do the opposite. So if one spins up, then the other one has to spin
down.
Very good.
Yes.
So as this electron is ejected, okay, from this chemical, it already has a pair. Okay, it already has a pair of electrons with already. So it's already paired up. It's already found its partner. It said, "Hey, how you doing?
I'm going to go up. You want to go down?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can go down. I'm a bit of a selfish lover. So it's already got its pair, and as the photon comes in, ejects the electron. They are still what they call entangled, quantum entanglement. Okay, so they're still undergoing a process known as quantum entanglement.
Okay.
Yeah, which is really interesting.
So even though they're broken up, they're still like a pair.
They're still a pair. Now,
so it's like a divorced parents. They've still got that kid that connects them.
Yeah. They've still got that pairing. Now, here's the other thing. Regardless of the distance that they're separated, okay, if you influence one and change the spin of one, no matter how far, it could be on the other edge of the universe, that other electron will spin the opposite way. So instantaneously, the minute that you do it, they will change. Now,
yeah, I've heard about this. Isn't this one of the ideas behind time travel or something? Like if that can happen instantaneously, sure, there's a way to cheat the system.
Not quite, because, and we'll have to go into a later episode. Okay, but it's got to do with the information transfer.
Okay.
So it doesn't break Einsteinian general and special relativity. Like it's not like, oh, this rewrites everything. It's like, no, this is allowed to happen. But Einstein actually referred to it as spooky action at a distance.
Yeah, I've heard that. That's a great name, isn't it?
I know, right? It's one of the few things that the physicist's name was actually kind of clever. So if one spins up and then you take the other one to the other side of the Milky Way galaxy, and then change the spin of that somehow using polarity and magnetic field and stuff like that, the other one will change. Now, as the electron is ejected, so remember going back to the light beam coming into the robin's eye, okay, or the light photon, because we're talking about quantum mechanics here, we're going to talk about it being a particle. And the electron is ejected, it's ejected, but it's still paired with the original electron it was with or going around in the molecule.
So it's doing the opposite spin in the molecule?
Yep. Now, this...
It's travelling away, so long my love.
Yes, so long, my love. Yes, so long, my love. You'll always go down on me. All right. So as it kind of goes away, okay, it's still, and it's as it's ejected, it still obviously is an electron. Now, according to a guy called Lenz's law, okay, this was an idea that electrons can be influenced by magnetic fields, okay, and so when you put a particle, electron, or any charge into a magnetic field, it will experience a force. Now, that's what birds are following. They're following Earth's magnetic field. Okay? So, as an electron is ejected, it will undergo the experience of force due to Earth's magnetic field. So, what that does, scientists believe, is that those electrons, okay, that have been split apart, or the one that's been ejected, they're still together, it actually will influence, depending on how it interacts with Earth's magnetic field, it will actually influence the function, so what's happening chemically in the brain of the European robin.
Wow.
Okay, so it will pick up, if it's not on path or if it's going a certain way, needs to go a certain way, then it will pick up that it's not going that certain way. And therefore it will be able to interact. So just looking at the pairing, it can actually tell the brain, well, actually, no, you're on path here, or you're not. You need
swing
to
a little west or
swing a little
east
west,
or something.
et cetera, et cetera. So how cool is that?
That is pretty cool.
Yeah, so they can actually determine.
So
where
they can
they're
sort of
flying.
see the well, not literally see it, but they
They can detect the magnetic field, and using chemicals in their eye and their brain, they're actually able, due to quantum entanglement, be able to see how.
So even though they can detect it,
electrons-
strapping a magnet to a robin's head's not going to fuck them up because it's to do with the light photons, not to do with the magnet itself.
I think it'll weigh the poor thing down.
What if it's a tiny little magnet? No.
I don't know.
Well, that's an
maybe.
experiment for our
That's an
summertime.
experiment. That's a really that's an experiment. Yeah, it is.
Strap a magnet to a bird's head, just watch it fly around in circles in a room.
I wonder what we're gonna look that up. We're gonna look that up. I don't want to do it because that's just rude.
I'll do it.
Oh, yeah, you rude prick.
Anyone got any robins they'd like to donate to science?
European robins specifically. So there's an example of how quantum mechanics plays a part even in bird navigation. This quantum entanglement, this process that we look, spooky action at distance, and it's not something that's just in the lab. It's something that is around us all the time.
It is. You don't really think about this whole quantum side of things, but you can see how it influences from bird navigation to really the most fundamental reaction in all of life, which is photosynthesis, how quantum is playing a role in that.
Yeah.
And then we have this emerging quantum biology. I looked at some papers from like the 50s on quantum biology, so it's been around for a while, but we didn't really understand it.
I think we still don't really.
No,
do
we don't. Not at all. Basically, in short, I think right now we have a much better idea of the interaction between quantum phenomenon and, say, biological systems. It's way more than we used to know, but I also have to stress, at the moment, it is way less than Deepak Chopra would have you think we know about quantum mechanics and how it interacts with biological systems.
Quantum in front of something that it's all of a sudden
It's deep spiritual
it's just deep
something. Right?
spiritual. The quantum enlightenment of the universe is vibrating at it. It's just like he doesn't even know what he's talking about.
No, he's full of shit. Quantum is just like a packet of energy, a little tiny energy at the subatomic level. That's what we're talking about with quantum.
Have you seen the one where he's debating Dawkins, and Dawkins calls him ignorant,
Yeah.
and he goes, "Oh, he's insulting," and Dawkins is like, "That's not what ignorant means. It means you don't know something." Like, and they got in this big argument. Anyway, they got in this big argument, and Dawkins is just totally baffled by this guy. He doesn't understand what that word means, and he's going on about it.
Yeah. I think at this stage it's really important to stress the most important phrase, I think, for all of scientific endeavours is we don't know. And at this stage, there's a few things about the quantum world that we don't know. We know it interacts with the biological world, which is fucking crazy. That blows my mind that there's this understood world we know is interacting with our lives, we know is influencing our natural systems, but we don't really know how yet. And that's so cool.
I know. There's so much more to be discovered, and the more that we invest in physics, the more that we'll understand biology.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. We love you. If you got any episode suggestions or anything like that, please let us know.
Otherwise, jump on to our Patreon account at patreon.com/Sci-gasm, or there's also one at patreon.podbean/Sci-gasm podcast as well.
Yeah.
Go and check that out, and you get special offers.
Special offers, and you can even make episode suggestions. Thanks very much, guys.
Bye.